coming up on the TW3 Podcast.
The fact that society has changed a little bit and for the professional world has changed. And a lot of people, in my opinion, take the default and fall into kind of the mediocrity trap of just, okay, I'll do this and I'll be fine and I'll live life when I'm 62 and a half and I will retire, because those are the expectations of our parents and generations before us.
Are you leading on instinct or insight? Introducing Ascend 360, the exclusive leadership assessment tool used by top business owners, pastors, managers, and entrepreneurs to grow their impact and lead with clarity. Ascend 360 combines the power of personality profiling, communication analysis, and goal-oriented behavior into one easy-to-understand report that shows you exactly how to lead better, faster, and smarter. If you're ready to improve team performance, boost your leadership confidence, and unlock your next level, start today free of charge at terrywilson3.com/leadership. That's terrywilson3.com/leadership. Ascend 360. Clarity that leads. Leadership that lasts.
You're listening to terrywilson3.com. terrywilson3.com. Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Terry, and welcome back to the TW3 Podcast, where we help you build income, create freedom, and design a life and business you actually enjoy living. Imagine that. Listen, one of the biggest traps you'll see in today is people doing everything right on paper, but still feeling stuck. They've got the degree, they've got the job, they got the experience. But deep down, they know this isn't what I want to do. And the truth is, we've been sold a model of work that doesn't always align with who we are, how we're wired, or what we're capable of creating. That's exactly why I'm excited about today's conversation. Today, I bring someone who is helping people rethink their entire relationship with work, career, and purpose. She's the founder of Career Benders, an executive career and leadership coach whose work has been featured in Forbes, USA Today, and NASDAQ. She's also the host of the No More Mondays podcast and the author of Scary Good, where she challenges people to stop settling for safe and start building careers that are actually aligned, fulfilling, and impactful. But what I really appreciate about her approach is this. She doesn't just help people find a better job. She helps them redesign the way they think about work altogether. And if you've ever felt like you're capable of more, if you've ever thought, there's got to be something bigger for me than this, or if you're ready to stop wanting for opportunity and start creating it, then this conversation with Angie is really going to hit home with you. So do me a favor, lean in, take some notes, and really listen to this conversation because it might just apply to you. Let's jump into that conversation I had with Angie right now.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, Angie, how are you?
I am all right.
All right. I got to admit, I forgot all about this till about 45 minutes ago. My system alerted me. I was like, holy cow.
Hey, I mean, I fly by the seat of my pants real well, so I knew about it and did nothing except for just log into the Zoom link 10 seconds ago. There you go.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately for you, I'm going to be off camera because I just wasn't prepared.
I'm fine. I'll make anything work.
Well,
so
you're so...
I'm pretty adaptable.
So adapt. Isn't that what it is to be an entrepreneur? You just have to
it kind of is.
Sort of go with it. So how long have you been in this space?
I've owned my coaching business for 8.5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what were you doing before that?
I have some stages. So I think the easy way is to go back to the beginning. And I started my career as an engineer.
Okay.
And I was a civil engineer for 7 or 8 years, became enlightened to the fact, or maybe decided to act on the awareness that I had already had, that it was not the career I wanted to carry out for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
Changed careers in the middle of the Great Recession and did some random stuff, stumbled into the nonprofit sector and ended up working there for like 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
4.5 of which I was an executive director of a kind of a grassroots organization, had a ton of growth potential. And all of a sudden, bing, 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 the entrepreneurial qualities that I had never been able to make sense of came to life. And so after that, I started my business.
Wow. It's amazing how the arc of your story, while it's unique to you and the specifics, it seems to be common with a lot of people I talk to that are in that space.
Yeah.
You know, you're going down this path and then something disruptive happens and then you sort of find yourself in a different thing and it awakens all this other stuff and you just sort of find yourself. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. And that's sometimes I think that's like, if you follow the breadcrumbs, eventually the loaf comes together.
I love that.
Versus some people kind of are like, I want that loaf, but then they miss the opportunity to gather the breadcrumbs for like a different baked good that they may have enjoyed more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's sort of like that. You're right. Every breadcrumb sort of builds the final baked good. But boy, while you're in that journey, while you're in the middle of it, sometimes it doesn't make sense, does it? It's just sort of like, what in the world?
It didn't make sense. There were many times it didn't make sense. And you just have to trust that it's going to work itself out.
Yeah. Trust the process. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was in music my whole life. You know, I grew up a musician. I was lucky enough to get in the music business on the retail side. I was selling sound systems and recording equipment and all that. And afforded me the opportunity to meet a lot of my heroes, a lot of great people in the music space because I love music. It's a passion. And when the Great Recession happened for me, that's what sort of kicked me out of that whole space because, you know, my claim to fame was we were selling these baby grand pianos all over the country to new home builders, you know, and I had no idea people were over leveraging themselves and, you know, they were signing off mortgages to anybody and everyone at the time. I didn't know what was going on in the economy. I just knew a ton of people were buying new homes and were having enough capital to buy baby grand pianos to put in them. So I was fat and happy, you know, until I wasn't. And then that's what put me sort of in this entrepreneurial journey here with what we do because I was like, what am I going to do? And I only thing I could do was what someone, you know, offered me, which was sort of like a sales gig with selling insurance for a while. But some of the creative stuff I was able to do in my music business with the web design and graphic design and online marketing and all that, I just that's all I knew. So I did that and found some success. And then I had people from that space saying, hey, can you do that for us? And that's what put me over into where I'm at now as more of a marketer, you know, in helping business owners and entrepreneurs, you know, get their voice and their products, goods, and services out there.
Nice.
But, you know, it's sort of like, you know, I wish life was like you just go from A to Z because that's where but you have to go B. You have to go through the steps.
I was just say there is no alphabet.
There is no alphabet. Yeah. It's just like, man. And you really, you have to have some faith about yourself and your God sometimes. At least I did. Otherwise, you just want to throw your hands up and just like, oh my God.
Otherwise, you will either throw up or get off that roller coaster the minute it pulls into the stop.
Exactly. Well, I've been perusing your stuff, and so I came up with some questions I wanted to ask you with your permission, and we'll just go through it. And if it's something that you don't want to say, let's pass. You can just say pass. But this is just sort of to get your brand, your voice in front of my audience, so that I can expose you and hopefully inspire and equip them that are listening. Let me go with the first one here. It says, you talk a lot about no more Mondays. What does that really mean in today's world to you?
No more Mondays. The concept from a podcast perspective really practically has evolved over the years. And because of that, my perspective on what no more Mondays means has also evolved. And now what it means to me is looking at the week in a way that quite literally the days don't matter because you look forward to what you get to do in and on all of them.
Yeah.
For instance, so many people look forward to Friday or Saturday or Sunday because their work week is over. But if you're doing really meaningful, purposeful work, you will look forward to the start of the week just as much, maybe in a different manner, because you get to go do that work that fulfills you. And that's what No More Mondays means.
I love that. That's what I try. I've got 5 children, and I tell them, follow the passion, not the money. The money will come. But if you ever find what you just love to do and you would do it even if you didn't get paid, you'll never work another day in your life. That's what, so when you say no more Mondays, that's what it sort of reminds me of. It's just like, there's not that dread anymore going into work. I mean, You just live it. I love that. Yeah. What do you think so many high performing people still feel stuck in their careers? Why do you think that is?
Oh, this is a soapbox I could talk on for a while. A lot of it distills down to the fact that society has changed a little bit, and for the professional world has changed. And therefore, so have expectations. And that word is a really tricky word. And this is why I think a lot of people are stuck in a career that isn't what they would have chosen for themselves, or they haven't chosen for themselves. And it is because they are living their lives and carrying through with a profession that aligns with someone else's expectations, or the lack of their own expectations, right? Default. I talk in my book about design over default. And a lot of people, in my opinion, take the default and fall into kind of the mediocrity trap of just, okay, I'll do this and I'll be fine. And I'll live life when I'm 62 and a half and I will retire, because those are the expectations of our parents and generations before us. And we're now in a climate where things have changed. We have way more career paths and options. Entrepreneurship is a viable way to make a living now. Pensions are no longer a thing. We're going to live and work longer. And so the way that we work needs to change, and how that work interacts with our lives needs to change, and needs to be intentional and chosen, and not just what someone, is suggested or expects you to do.
Yeah, that's great. You're exactly right. And fear is such a motivator. You're afraid you're going to break a mold or the expectations of other people that they've set. That's huge. I can definitely see that.
And I think that you hit on another aspect, Terry, of we have this fear of failure in society today. I think social media doesn't help that. Comparison syndrome doesn't help that. And that fear of failing keeps us from taking any action at all.
Yeah. There was a movie by Billy Bob Thornton. I don't know if you're a big movie person, but I am. And he's building this rocket. I think it's Rocket Farmer or something like that. It's real crazy.
I think I know what movie you mean. I have not seen it. But
yeah, all he wants to do is he's always wanted to be an astronaut, and for whatever reasons through life, he just settled and convinced himself this wasn't the path. He needs to just do what he's expected to do. And since he was a little boy, he had a dream of just being an astronaut. So he became a person of means and could do what he wanted to do. And so he started building a rocket because he was going to go. And the scene flashes to this where he's in this, for whatever reason, in his high school or junior high, and he's sitting out and he's got to go into the principal's office. And there's a young man sitting right beside him that's actually of school grade age. And he says, "What are you doing here for?" And he says, he got in trouble. And the conversation goes on. And it basically said, well, I wanted to do this and they wanted me to do this. And Billy Bob just, it sort of resonated with him. He says, well, you better start learning what you want to do because if you don't, someone will start telling you what you're supposed to do for the rest of your life.
Bingo. And that to me is why most people, I'm actually going to use the word most here. Yeah. Most people fall into that trap. And a lot of it is just because of, let's say, naivety or ignorance. And I don't mean that in any kind of judgmental way. Sure. But the fact that they're ignorant to the fact that they actually have the ability to choose.
Yes.
But most people won't even go through the steps to figure out what they want in the first place, let alone take any steps that help them build on that awareness.
That whole idea of you have a choice, that is such a huge... We say it so dismissively, but through some of my background as a pastor and stuff and in counseling, just getting people to understand you have a choice. You don't have to be here. You get to choose, what meaning you assign to this. You get to choose who you're going to hang out with. You get to choose where you live, what you do. That is such a easily said, but it's so profound to a lot of people. And in psychotherapy, that is one of the greatest gifts a person can ever give themselves is understanding I have a choice.
I have a choice. And here's the big thing. Here's the I think the kicker there. Not making a choice is a choice.
Yes. Exactly. That's a choice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man, it's so good. Yeah, I think I could get on the same soapbox with you there.
Mm-hmm. I hang out there a lot.
Yeah, me too.
You're welcome anytime.
I'll come if there's room for me. What's broken about the traditional career path that most people don't realize right now?
You have a choice.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's cheeky, but also I mean it in that and this is going to sound counterintuitive because the hiring process in the professional world is hopelessly flawed and becoming increasingly less human by the day. And that makes professionals feel as if we don't have choices. However, that's also counterintuitive because in not exercising choice and not being focused in what you want to do, you end up kind of falling into that trying to be everything to everyone and therefore nothing to no one. And ultimately, we do have more control over our career trajectories than we think we do, and certainly than we exercise. And that to me is the misconception in the working world today. And it's because of a lot of the things that you help build the foundation for already in this conversation. The fact that the professional world has changed. There are more options. We can choose to live and work where we want to live and work. And to me, ultimately, it comes down to we have more control and agency than we think. And a lot of that starts with determining what we want from life.
Yeah.
And seeking out work that aligns with that, whether it's because it's values aligned or purpose aligned or location aligned.
Right.
But if we don't do that work, we're always going to have work. We're always going to fall into the trap of work competing with life instead of complementing it.
That's good. Absolutely. And I think, I don't know if it's cultural in every location, but of course I'm here in the Southeast where we say things ugly to people and then say, bless your heart behind it. And it's supposed to excuse what we just said. Like, that dress is ugly.
I love that you just called out. That is totally true.
We do. There's what was it? Someone was saying, well, I have a friend, he's up in the Northeast, and we're just a little more, direct and sharp and da-da-da-da. He's a friend of mine from New York. And I said, well, we're ugly too. It's just we drink so much sweet tea down here in the South.
I was going to say that you just put it behind sweet tea. Call it Southern charm.
And call it Southern charm. I said, I think we're actually uglier than the most rude in your face, guy from the Bronx, because he's from the Bronx, Neil, my buddy. And I says, we just say the ugly, and then bless his heart, just dumb as a rocks. A rocks bless his heart. He don't know no better. Wasn't raised right. But
I'm laughing because I have many Southern friends, and I know this is true. And I am, I have an interesting perspective on this because I grew up in Appalachia in southwestern Pennsylvania. Okay. Where you don't quite have Southern charm, but there's a slight influence of Midwestern nicety that balances out the grittiness of somebody from like Philadelphia. Right. But then I lived in New England where, those people chop your head off as soon as look at you. And now I live in Colorado. And so a lot of my like type A East Coaster has been balanced by mountain lifestyle, but I am naturally a pretty direct person. I just have figured out how to do it really kindly. So I think of myself as like tactfully direct.
Yeah, you've put the velvet around the brick. There is a way to do it. Yeah, velvet brick. Yeah.
There's a way to say you're dumb as a box of bricks to somebody's face without saying you're dumb as a box of bricks.
One of my favorite TikTok videos is this lady that she responds to these emails, says, how do you say in corporate America speak, that you don't pay me enough to do this or it's not my job? And then she'll go right into, they want her to say something ugly, but how do you respond to your boss? And then she puts it in corporate talk. Well, this is beyond the scope of what right now we've agreed upon. Oh my God, it's just so funny.
Well, that's out of scope. So here's what we can do about it.
Exactly. It's so great.
Have you thought about learning XYZ, dumb as a box of rocks person, right? Yeah. There's always a way to position a negative as a positive. And that's how you can be kindly direct instead of beating around the bush and then talking about somebody behind their back over a glass of sweet tea on a front porch.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Oh, my word. Well, how much of career frustration is actually an identity problem and not a job problem, in your opinion?
Oh, I feel like we need to just go read chapter 3 and 7 of my book. This is really big because in many situations, it is, I can't tell you a percentage, but the former engineer in me really wants to, but I can say this, it is more often a larger systemic problem than it appears. And if you don't dig into that, then you'll end up potentially seeking the wrong change. For instance, I've talked to many people over the years who are like, oh my gosh, I hate my job. I hate what I do. I need to go make a career change. And by the time you work through the reverse engineering of that problem statement, you actually find out it's a symptom. And the real issue, they're in like a wildly values misaligned employer. This is an example of, there's many of these that shake out. And so, but the thing about that is you can't diagnose the issue and where the misalignment lies if you haven't done the work to know what's important to you, because now you have that decision maker to support the decision. And so more than you would think, career satisfaction is a sign to a larger or more systemic issue of misalignment. We just either don't see it or don't want to see that.
Yeah. Do you have any tools, or what do you use? I'm sure you do, but what tools or frameworks do you use to help someone get clarity on, what their strengths and weaknesses are, so that, that alignment can take place? So my favorite,
and I mentioned it a second ago, my favorite one is core values. And I actually have a downloadable on my site. If you go to angiecallan.com/resources, or just go to angiecallan.com and dig around, you'll find it. Can't remember the exact link, but it is an exercise to sit down. And if you've already done this, cool. I think it's worth revisiting every year or so, because your values won't change substantially unless you've been through some sort of big life trauma. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes they'll reprioritize themselves, or you'll get more clarity on kind of how to articulate something really important. But it's my favorite exercise. And I have gone through that with CEOs who are just total badasses and can't figure out why they're unsatisfied. And we do something simple like core values, and they go, oh, I'm not satisfied because what I'm doing not only doesn't check the boxes, but exactly erases every box, and it is in total misalignment to values. So that's my starting point. And from there, we're able to decide what other kind of diagnostic tools, or more so, what questions we need to be asking in order to start sifting through the decision-making process.
That's great. That's great. I use, I got licensed with Myers-Briggs about 10 years ago. And of course, there's different assessment tools out there. But one of the greatest things I ever did for myself, and I don't know if you've done this, but just do personality assessments so you understand your cognitive functions. The 8 dichotomies of your what makes up a personality, and where your strengths and weaknesses are, and what that means. And how it differs from others. That has helped me tremendously in my personal life. And then what I've been able to do is help some of my clients that I work with in their space. And it's like eye-opening. Oh, this is the reason why I always disagree or always don't get along with person A or person B. And it really helps get clear, not from a self-indulgent thing, because, we can get too far down that rabbit hole of, just it's all about me. But if you can understand who you are and how it's different than others, it really goes a long way in helping you lead others, communicate with others, and set proper expectations.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and a lot of that is anecdotally. My favorite is StrengthsFinder.
Yep.
Because it's similar reasons. It oftentimes helps people connect dots they weren't able to connect about themselves before. And it's, why do I show up that way? Or why do I have this preference? Or why do I interact with somebody that way? And that awareness can be really powerful as you walk through life. And I feel like that is even more important now that while we don't have to go down the AI rabbit hole, it has a place in this conversation because knowing our human skills and differentiators and what's unique about us is more important now than ever. As professionals, we're out in the world working alongside AI, or as business owners, we are competing not with just other business owners, but with AI. And so it's good awareness to understand yourself, your strengths, and how to articulate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think are the biggest lies that people you've worked with and coached with, and just from your perspective, what are the biggest lies people believe about security and stability in the traditional work career path right now?
That it has it.
I'm leading the witness, of course.
I love that you asked me this, because this is something I actually do talk about and have is a perspective that I share a lot, because I think it is important to know that employment and entrepreneurship, one is not better than the other. They are different. I also believe we as individuals tend to be wired for one versus the other. However, there are many people that say, I can't start a business. It will not give me job security. And my response to them is, you also have no control over whether someone decides to give you a job or let you keep it. Yep. However, if you know how to grow a business, you get to pull those levers, right? So that's a big misconception and an assumption that is not right about employment versus entrepreneurship, especially in the year of our Lord 2026 and the dumpster fire market that we have.
Don't get me started. Yeah, you to do a callback, a comedian technique here. When you were talking about the Great Recession of 2007, at that time I had 22 employees that had secure jobs with me, and then we went under. They lost their jobs. I lost my business. We all got fired by life. But it's amazing to me how, even though it's painful for me, painful for them, we're all suffering, the ability to re-engage and reinvent and get back on the saddle, I would say comparatively, the skill sets you pick up from just the mindset of being an owner versus a renter. I own my career rather than I'm renting a career from someone else who I'm dependent upon their benevolence. It's just amazing. And I do know that it's not for everyone. And I do know people are wired differently. And I totally get that. And it's not a judgment toward those who are not attracted to it. But I think sometimes it's been my experience. Maybe you can correct me if your experience has been different. Sometimes people use that whole security argument as an excuse not to take a risk on themselves.
100%. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the fear and the failure. And, I'll add to it because I 100% agree. And what I'll add to it is they lean into the fear and the assumption and use that as an excuse, all as this little mixed bag of telling themselves I can't versus looking at it and kind of reverse engineering the worst case scenario. Right. Because that's also we catastrophize everything.
Yeah.
Our DNA is wired that way. However, we don't live in a society where there's saber-toothed tigers chasing us around. And so now we could actually look and say, wait, what's the worst case scenario if I go try this thing? Or am I actually more stable in this job than if I were to go, build a business and learn how to grow it in X space? And so, yes, we use it as both an excuse and put blinders onto it, but also can really pack that away in our subconscious and never evaluate the possibilities.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, you mentioned that some people are wired for that risk of entrepreneurialism. Some people aren't. How do you discover, how would one discover how they're actually wired and what they're wired for?
The risk word, I think, is a big part of whether or not you're wired for entrepreneurship. Also, how thick is your gut lining is part of entrepreneurship. But to me, it's about, you don't have to just jump in with both feet, right? I I cut the cord and jumped off a precipice with no parachute, both when I changed careers in the middle of the Great Recession and when I started this business. And we did not have a trust fund. I had about $1,000, a hope, a prayer, and I know I needed to work. Right. So there's a level of grit that I think some people naturally have. But if you don't know that you naturally have that or want to lean into it, you can take small steps to test the waters and start something as a part-time gig to see if it can grow. Or put yourself into a new situation where you've got to do something differently and push yourself out of the comfort zone so that you work up to the confidence to do something in a larger way. But ultimately, entrepreneurship is something you will not really understand if you can stomach until you do it on some level.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said. Just, you don't have to go, as we say in the South, whole hog, but just dip your toes in the water. That's so wise. And I think so many people have gotten burnt in the past and they just use that as an excuse not to try. You don't have to most of the guys I deal with, I tell them, keep your day job, keep what you're doing. Here's something you can do on the side. Just work on that, see how that works, and then work your way into it. I do find, though, that there are those personality types like me that, the only way I'm going to do anything if I'm in a sink or swim type situation. I think that's what got me so creative back in 07, 08, because it was like, oh, I've got to come up with something. But different people respond differently to that type of stimulus for sure.
That is a really good way to put it, because I think there are some people who, for me, it was, there's no plan B. So this has to work and I'll do whatever it takes to make it work. And there are a lot of people who have to have that type of motivation because the motivation of why they're doing it isn't necessarily enough.
Yeah.
If there is a fallback option, but you've got to kind of know what's going to, hold your feet to the fire to see it through.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you believe people should rely on one income stream, or do you advise your clients to try to diversify? What do you tell them on that?
I think we live in a time where one income stream is going to become less and increasingly less common.
Yeah.
But for many reasons. Gig economy, we don't have pensions anymore. It costs a whole lot more money to live than what wages are rising. And so I think that diversified income streams are good, but we have to make sure that we're not like overextending and sacrificing all of our quality of life in order to do it and spreading ourselves too thin.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if someone came to you and said, hey, I really need to start making more income, what do you tell them? Where do you tell them to start?
Well, first I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions about why.
Yeah. That's smart.
And I think one question that would likely come up in that series is, who do you want to help and how do you want to help them? Because I fully believe that the statement of I want to make more money has many more layers to it, which is why you have to start digging down into why. And it could be financial, but those finances still have an outcome, right? I want to have more freedom. I want to be able to leave my day job. We want to be able to travel more. So you have to know why you want to make more money, or I want to have more impact. And so I would also dovetail that with, what kind of mark do you want to leave? Who do you want to help? How do you want to help them? Because many times that's where our purpose is falling short and why we feel less fulfilled. And then that's where the money will come, just like you said earlier.
Yeah. What are some of those habits and disciplines that you've observed over the years that are non-negotiables in your mind that people have got to have for success in this space?
I'm a huge proponent of play is power and rest is not a reward, but a requirement. And so, part of the lifestyle that I sought out to have and then found a way to have a career to support it is living in the mountains, playing in the mountains, and making sure I'm doing the things that fuel and replenish my energy and my creative thought. Yeah. So for me, that's one. For a lot of people, it's journaling, it's spending time alone. The big thing is know what fuels you and what drains you, and make sure you're balancing the two in order to maintain some sort of equilibrium and stamina, especially if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I noticed I went to your website. You've got a great podcast. How long have you been podcasting? We
are just about to hit 250 episodes.
Awesome. So what does that represent? 2 years, a year? 3?
It's been 5 at this point.
Nice.
Because it's been basically a release a week for pretty much 5 years. And
Nice.
it's been so fun to build not just, this repertoire of content that can help people, but also really meaningful conversations and connections I've been able to have through podcasting. So it's been, really fun and a big blessing in a way too.
Who's someone that you've interviewed or had on your podcast that is just like, oh, I can't believe I'm talking to this person?
It's interesting. I'm going to answer that question in a funny way because I had a guest named Marcus Sheridan who wrote You Ask, They Answer, which is like on every list of top 5 marketing books everyone should read before they die. Mm-hmm. And in the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to interview this guy. But it was funny because the episode kind of went wah, wah, wah from a traction perspective because he was almost too big to share it.
Yeah.
And so no one really heard it. And so it was like one of these milestones for me that was cool. But I've had some people that have just been, my friend Justin Shank is probably one of the most meaningful to me because he was on my podcast and became my friend afterwards. And he also has a really big, amazing reach and an event that I go to. And we've been able to do really cool stuff together. He wrote the foreword to my book. And so to me, it was, wow, look what came of having him on my podcast more so than, I got to have him there.
Man, that was a great conversation. I really appreciate Angie for taking the time to do it. And here's what I want you to take away from this. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to keep living in a system that doesn't fit who you are. And you definitely don't have to wait for someone else to give you permission to step into something much more. The reality is this. In today's world, you have more opportunity than ever before to design your income, your impact, and your lifestyle. But, and this is important, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you get intentional. It happens when you take ownership. And it happens when you decide to move, even before you feel 100% ready. So here's my challenge to you. What's one more move you can take today? Not next week, not next month, but today. That puts you closer to the life and business you actually want. Start there. And if you're looking for tools and systems and support to help you create income and opportunities on your terms, we have a wonderful opportunity at TW3.com where we guarantee you success or you pay us nothing. That's right. We guarantee you success or you pay us nothing. Because some people are going to do really well with the tools, training, and technology that we offer. Some people are not. And we only want to be paid by those who we can bring results to. So if you would like to take your money, business, and life to whole new levels and be able to leverage a system, a strategy, and software that thousands of people before you have done over the last almost 2 decades now and have found success, including yours truly, then go to TW3.com and let's have a conversation. If you are the right fit, we can get you onboarded today, and we will not charge you. We will not ask for any coaching fees. We will not ask for any monies up front. We only want to give you the system, the software, the training, the strategies. And then when you make money, and only when, and if you make money, we'll ask you to tithe back a little bit toward the people who helped you. But if you would like to do that, we would love to have you. Until next time, this is Terry.
So we hope you've got a lot out of the content today. Please take a few minutes to give us a 5-star positive review at terrywilson3.com/review. This helps us promote our content and continue to reach more and more people. Again, thanks for being part of the TW3 community here at terrywilson3.com. Please like and share our content, and we will see you soon.
Welcome, fellow leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Today, I invite you to step into a world where greatness is not just a goal, but a collective reality. Introducing the Elite Mastermind Group by TW3, a sanctuary for those seeking not just success, but exponential growth. It's more than a group. It's a synergy of minds, a convergence of aspirations, and a breeding ground for extraordinary accomplishments. You'll learn not only from experts, but from the stories of those beside you, fellow trailblazers who weathered storms and conquered obstacles, enriching your own journey. Imagine being surrounded by a league of highly motivated business owners and entrepreneurs, each driven by the same passion for success, propelling each other towards greatness. Embrace the power of networking, the art of learning, and the joy of sharing your value. It's not just about what you gain, but what you contribute. Dare to be exceptional. Dare to be part of the elite. Don't just dream of success. Surround yourself with those who are already living it. Join the Elite Mastermind Group by TW3. Elevate your success. Elevate your life.
Unlock the power within you. Discover the untapped potential waiting to be unleashed. You Are Worth More isn't just a book. It's a transformative guide to understanding your unique value in today's ever-evolving marketplace. Visit youareworthmorebook.com and claim your free copy. Within these pages, you'll unravel the secrets to identify your distinct strengths, refine your skills, and ignite the passion to pursue your true worth. Life isn't just about survival, it's about thriving. This book is your roadmap to not only surviving, but excelling in a world that demands your best. It's about recognizing your potential, developing your talents, and finding the inspiration to chase after what truly matters to you. Let You Are Worth More be your companion on this journey. It's not just a book, it's a catalyst for change. Empower yourself, elevate your skills, and embrace the opportunities that await. Visit youareworthmorebook.com today and embark on the path to realizing your full potential. Your worth is far more than you might imagine. Claim your free copy now and begin your transformation.